You know, what I was thinking is when bands are playing with all men playing, nobody would ever think that this is something they do on purpose, because it's so normal for guys to play in a band. When it's an all-woman band, it's always, everybody's asking themselves, so what is their purpose? What are they trying to tell us? Isn't that strange? I think probably emancipation or gender equality will be fulfilled when you don't even think this anymore. But for now, we have the situation as we have it now. So this was just the prelude to my first question. Why are you the Sisters in Jazz? What is this thing about, playing with women? What is the fun of it, and what is the main reason for it? Probably a question you've been asked before quite a lot, but in the light of what I just said before, maybe. Okay? Who wants to start?
I can start.
Okay.
Yeah, you are very right about this, and you really have to put women together so that people realize, okay, yeah, usually it's men, but now it's women, and really people don't realize this, and in many other professions it's the same thing. Like, you see men and you don't question anything, but then you see a woman and then it's like, oh, really? It's kind of odd suddenly. It's something that you're not used to see. In our case, I don't think it was meant to be a statement, but it kind of perhaps became. But the reason why we wanted to play together as women is because we feel that it brings a little bit of a different sensibility, maybe different sensitive side of us being now mothers also, some of us, and different, this feminine side perhaps a little bit, which is, you can argue that everything is the same, but I think because of our experiences in life, such as exactly being mothers and taking care and or doing things a little differently, it's just that we have a little different perspective on life, and perhaps this is what comes out in our music too. So yeah, that's my view, but you guys go ahead.
Well, you go. Well, there is actually, like 2 years ago, I talked with Julia Hülsmann about this, because she was conducting the Jazz Baltica Orchestra, all-female orchestra, and they were playing her music. And she said something a little similar to what you just said, that there's a certain vibe to it that is different when it's all women, which is sort of hard to explain, but maybe, a little bit, as you said, more sensitivity. But whereas all of you are also, I guess, playing in bands with men, of course, so, and there's also a sensitivity, of course, because without that you can't make this kind of music at all, But it's in German you say feinstofflich, it's on this very fine side, the unexplainable, maybe side. Each of you brings into her own compositions to this band, and I guess all these compositions are being played with other bands as well. It's probably not exclusively for the Sisters in Jazz, but the choice of which bands you bring into this quintet, which of your repertoire compositions do you bring into the Sisters of Jazz? Is there something that you would say, we do have a sound and we want, and when I bring in a composition, I sort of think about the sound or put this into perspective? Does anybody want? I can conduct this with the Rhoda if you want to, but
Well, how we choose our songs,
Yeah.
I mean, for this group. Actually, it's also different instruments each time I've been playing with this group. So I think it's a nice experience to think before what composition would suit these instruments, and also I haven't always been playing with everyone before we meet. So yeah, it may be an open composition that can go many ways, and sometimes this time, for example, I knew that Izabella was going to bring a lot of interesting instruments, so I brought a composition that was open for introduction, a free introduction, and yeah, stuff like that. And I know Dorota's drumming, and yeah, I think about some of the characters when I bring the song, but also a song that should be open a little bit, I think.
I think I want to say that I actually the song I played today, or we played today, actually I don't compose so much because I'm like instantly compose like very quick. So this song actually I had it when I woke up. Then I had it in the bed, I think, and I thought about this group because I was going to play. I think it was because you were talking about this concert kind of long time, right? And it became little like later. So actually this song was for this group, and I don't think so much as like woman, like they are girl. They are just like it's Nicole and Dorota and you, and we played it together first time, Stina and me. So I didn't thought about Stina, but I think for me it's not so much about man or woman. It's more like that person. For me it is like that. So it just happened to be like girls and happen to be like man or woman. But for me it doesn't. I don't think about it actually, and maybe it's not a good thing that I don't think about it, because I don't have so much statement or like it's girl. But for me, I don't think about it. I just like to play together with these people. It's just like that, I think.
The funny point is exactly, we actually, when we are playing, we are definitely not thinking about any shape of person, right?
No,
we are playing with the personalities who are on stage, and so we forget. That's the nice thing on music. You forget everything, and that's the magic in music, that you don't quote, you don't say, okay, this is a man, this is a woman, this is something different now. And it's like, it's the music, and the music is a language, and the language is for everybody, however you feel in that moment, who you are. Jazz is a freedom. Stands for freedom. And I think that's why I love to play with the sisters in jazz, because it doesn't matter.
Good. Yeah. It's actually, I mean, it comes to what I said in the first place, you know, that when you're an all-woman band, you know, when it comes to the point where nobody will say anymore, it has a purpose when women play together, you know, because that's exactly what you said, Naoko, is when that you don't care whether it's man or woman, it's the person, you know, it's the character, it's and then we would come to a point where we really want to get to, actually. No? Don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think maybe if we go now a higher stage, we watch, we have eyes, and because we have eyes, we think in systems. You know, because if you close your eyes and you just hear and you don't know who's playing, you probably cannot say it, right? In the most players, right? But as soon we have eyes, I don't know, eyes have so much weight. You know, if you look to a person, you see a person, or you are, oh, what is this kind of person? So actually, because we can see, we have different views on things, and sometimes this is not so good.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. A couple of years ago, there was a what do you call this? A concert competition with saxophone players, and there were like 7 bands, and 2 of them were with saxophone playing women. And one journalist, I heard him say, about this one woman who she was playing, you know, something between, you know, she was like a Charlie Parker kind of playing, but with a wide harmonic horizon, you know, coming also from classical music. She was just a great player. And he would say, well, yeah, but the way she plays, you know, what it does to her face, it's not looking good. And he would have never said this with a man, because it's you know, because you don't care what it does for a saxophone player man, you know, what it does to his face. But with a woman, it felt like, but she should look pretty when she plays, you know. And that is something that's kind of strange, you know. And that is, again, you know, that with the eyes and being judged with the eyes, or being and all this, you know. So partially, not by everybody, and far away from that, you know. But still, it's in the air somewhat. Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, and then the sisters, of course. When sisters in jazz, you always think about the Eurythmic song. Sisters are doing it for themselves, you know. And you mentioned that in the beginning, that the idea of the sisters in jazz is also, or has been, a sort of networking idea. There is a networking idea, right? And that was when you started out in 2015, right?
Yes, because I run education program in Switzerland. It's called Sophia, and Sophia is the little daughter of the big Sisters in Jazz, which was run by IAJE, International Association for Jazz of Education. It was a program was running from the conference in USA, and then after 10 years they went bankrupt, so they didn't have any more money, and their goal was to feature women in jazz. And they had, like, every year they had a competition. You could take part. I took 2 times part, and the second time it happened that I could be one of the Sisters in Jazz 2003. And then I went back again to Europe, and suddenly the program was bankrupt, and I thought, oh Jesus, it would be nice to let it go on. So then I started to invent Sophia, but more with the music business plus the playing. And then Sweden got, somehow they heard about that, and Jan Lundgren asked me, hey Nicole, could you do a Sophia in Sweden? Or Sisters in Jazz in Sweden. So we did, and that was pure success. And that was the first time I met Naoko. With Dorota I played a couple of times together, and Izabella came also for the first time, and then we had some other women on instruments, and that was really phenomenal. Yeah. So there was then the broadcasting, and then we had the CD, and the CD was actually pretty good, right? For the first time playing together. And then we decided to go on tour. And from that time on, I felt like so many more bands started to be Sisters in Jazz, so I felt it's like a kind of streaming, so like a networking. So Cecilia Norby made on ACT, the CD, where we both, Dorota and me, play also with her. It's also a Sisters in Jazz, so there are many Sisters in Jazz, and I think US, they do again Sisters in Jazz, the program, in another way, so it's actually good. It's more and more, it's like magnetic, like more and more.
Yeah, it's got a great energy, and it's got an ongoing vibe. Absolutely. And I think this is what happens with you too, because you're not like the typical working band in a way, because you're playing short tours, but then there's a long stretch of time before you meet again. But that bond is there, so and that's a good thing, and it's a bond between like this quintet, but it could also be, you know, with 3 of you playing with others, and so, and that's the idea behind it, right? So that's pretty catchy and very good. So now we are all looking forward to your next album, whenever you will record it, and wherever, when the time is right for that. And thank you, Naoko, for putting that part in, that you were composing the song that we heard tonight, you know, for this.
Yeah, but my composing is literally like I don't feel like I compose because it comes like everything in one time. So it's like when I'm improvising with piano at the same time. So I don't know if I can call it my composition, but I wrote down, then it's called composition. If I have a pen or no pen, that's the difference.
Well, it's being said that people like Beethoven did it the same way. Once in a while.
Thank you very much.
Okay. So thanks for taking your time, everybody, and have a safe trip and very good concerts to be continued.
Nice meeting you. Thank you. Super.
Okay.